Welcome to the Bread and Butter Collective Podcast. I'm Calen McNeil from Big Wheel Burger and Zambrie's.
I'm Sam Jones from 2% Jazz and Sequoia Coffee.
Excellent. How are you doing, Sam?
Well, it's been a week. It's been an exciting week. Things are good. I'm really happy it's Friday, and I'm looking forward to hitting my garden this weekend.
Oh, that sounds exciting. How was what happened this week? Tell me about what was going on.
Well, I'm trying to buy a new building for my coffee roaster, and so those plans are really developing nicely. And it's my first time buying a building, so I'm very excited about the whole prospect.
How are you doing it? Who are you talking to? What stage are you at?
I began talking to the BDC about a month ago. I'm talking to a real estate agent as well, who's helping me kind of navigate the waters. Although there's two buildings, I know where they are. I know what I want.
Yeah.
He doesn't really need to help me with that. He just needs to facilitate the deal.
Yeah.
The bank needs to give me the money, and I need to move in. I'm pretty stoked about the whole situation.
So it's looking positive?
It's looking really good, yeah. And that's how I spent a lot of my week. I bought some new equipment for my roaster to help clean up the smoke a bit, and that's exciting. And
wow,
it's been a great week.
Yeah, I think that.
You,
yeah, kind of the same. We're funny enough dealing with the BDC on looking at financing a building in Courtenay. So we've got the plans done, the tentative or initial planning of it. We've owned the land for a couple of years.
Really?
This is our first foray into ownership. All of our businesses are lease deals.
Oh.
So this will be the first one where we actually own the building and the land, and it's an exciting opportunity for us.
For some reason, I thought you owned some of your buildings already.
No, I've owned commercial real estate in the past, but for Big Wheel, we haven't done any ownership yet. So this is our first ownership. It's something we've wanted to do. Everybody's read or watched the movie The Founder on how McDonald's has done their thing. So
It's a real estate business.
Well, it's a real estate business. I think it makes sense in a lot of ways. The BDC has been great to deal with. They actually encouraged us to do it and to actually get into the ownership end of it. So, we managed to get a really good piece of property in Courtenay, right downtown, and we're working with Frank D'Ambrosio on the design.
Oh, so it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, it's going to be a beautiful building.
Frank.
It'll be kind of it's at the entranceway as you're getting to the downtown core in Courtenay. So it's an exciting project for us. Just navigating all those things. I mean, as you know, when you do lease deals, you're dealing with the landlord, you're dealing with your subcontractor for your TI improvements and things like that. So it's not dissimilar from that process. You've got to do nowadays all the city municipalities, they want you to have an architect, they want you to have all the drawings and all that kind of stuff figured out. So it's not much different, but there's environmental stuff that you got to consider, and it's outside of our expertise.
Right. So you're building the building as opposed to just buying the building, because you already have the land, if I'm not
we've got the
mistaken.
land.
And so now you're just building the building yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
See,
so we get to kind of decide exactly what we need, and then we're also going to be renting, so we're going to be a landlord to other tenants as well.
Right.
So it's going to be a unique challenge. So that's something that is kind of exciting. And I mean, when you're trying to run your business day to day, these types of things, just like you buying a building for your roaster and buying new equipment, that's kind of outside the operational scope. Right. So you got to use a different part of your brain. And you may, we're not experts at everything. So it's easy. There's little road, pitfalls that you can fall into if you're not careful. So obviously, recommend to do things slowly and study and figure out what the best practices are for doing this type of thing. And working with a great partner, Frank D'Ambrosio, he built the atrium building for the Jol Properties.
Yeah.
So we have a relationship. They did the TIs for us in that building. Great guy, longtime customer at Zambrie's. So he's definitely an expert that we're leaning on. And we're excited. We hope to be breaking ground in September. Wow. And be in business next summer.
So. Yeah, you can't go wrong with Frank. Every time I hear his name, I get this great picture of him on his little black Vespa, riding around town still, and just making some of the best properties in Victoria and the province.
Well, he's an amazing designer. You got to kind of shell out you got to keep him kind of reined in with the materials. Like there's a huge scope between if you're going to be doing a wood frame building versus concrete building, and then all of a sudden you get, the tiling and all the, the outside of the building, what is it going to look like, what material is going to be, and there's a wide range of expense. So I always like to do things right. I always like to do things as high quality as possible. I just think it's good to invest that up front. But when you're also looking at getting into the real estate game, you got to understand what makes sense. So we originally wanted to do a 4-story apartment building and have some low-income rentals there, as well as some condos perhaps, but mainly rental. But when we actually looked at what that looks like for us as far as the cost and what the lift's going to be, it didn't really make sense for us because we would have had to spend $4 million on a building. Then we're entering an area that we do not have a level of expertise in construction of that stuff. So unless we were going to partner with somebody that was going to actually take that on, who had experience building apartment buildings and managing apartment buildings for that matter, we just thought it was too big of a bite. So we kind of compromised on a 2-story building. Perhaps residential on the second floor, but we're going to go with office initially, just because it's a little bit better economically. After COVID, the one thing that it forced us to think about is, okay, what makes the most financial sense and decrease the risk. So you make these types of big decisions, and when you're in the restaurant business focused on that, then you step yourself out, you introduce a bunch more risks. So I want to kind of decrease the risk, but yet still try to produce a quality product that we're proud of, and that will make a good statement in Courtenay.
Right. Well, it's amazing to think that as people who own cafes and restaurants, and that we also do more, and that in this day and age, when we're able to broaden our scope like that, and to diversify our abilities, like to be able to build a building or to start to be able to buy properties, it doesn't feel like I'm in the restaurant industry so much. It's a different part of it that I've never experienced. So it sounds like we're both on pretty interesting journeys. Yours sounds like it's really diversified, where I'm just starting to kind of inch up to be at least some kind of a property owner, as opposed to some schlup paying my landlord.
I mean, we're in business, so if we're have an opportunity, you have a multi-store operation, I have a multi-store operation, so why not try to go for the brass ring and try to apply some of the good work that we do there into something else, expand and broaden, and just strengthen our overall organization. Right. I think we're both producing, pretty good product for the people that come and eat and dine and drink at our establishments. So why not try to broaden that? And you only live once. So
and I don't know about you, and this isn't the topic of the podcast today, but man, am I sick of paying rent. In one location I've now paid almost $1 million to my landlord.
Yeah.
And, I can't even pick up the phone and have a real conversation with them, even after paying $1 million.
Yeah.
I mean, why would I want to do that again?
No. Well,
why would anyone?
I think there's a balance, right? Like, not everybody's in a position to be able to purchase or buy real estate or do that stuff. Right. It takes time. We've both been in business over 20 years, so we're now have the luxury of having those conversations and having the opportunity to do that.
Is that how long it takes, you think, or did it just take us that long to figure it out?
I think, it depends on your financing, right? Like, I don't think either of us, had, this big sum of money that we started with that we could have made those decisions. But I think, we've earned by reputation and by just working hard to be able to get in that position. And I mean, to become an expert in anything, it's 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
So, we probably have spent 10 to 15, maybe 20,000 hours in doing what we're doing. So, we've done the lease rate. We kind of know what that looks like. I've had the advantage of, in early 2000s, I did own a commercial building. So I kind of have a little bit of experience. I've done we bought a commercial building in downtown Victoria and we renovated it, did a heritage restoration, and we ended up selling it. But it was a very, positive experience for me. So I do have a little bit of experience in that, but I definitely think there's a place for both. If you're starting your new shop and you're looking, leasing is definitely the cheapest way to do it as far as what you need. I
It's
mean,
a cheap entrance
cheap
fee.
entrance,
It's
yeah,
just like the long-term
yeah,
pain
yeah,
is unforeseen until you're there, I
yeah.
guess.
And I don't think you can look at the numbers like I think our total nut for our 5 stores that we have is around 25,000 a month that we pay in rent.
Right.
So if I looked at
It's
that,
not bad for 5 stores.
that's not bad,
That's really
right?
good lease
So
rates.
yeah, we were able to get decent spots kind of off the grid and kind of because we're a bit of a draw
Right.
that we could be somewhere that's a little bit off the grid. Like our gateway location probably isn't perceived as an A type location, but it's now one of our busiest stores. So people found it, they come to it, and I think even our trailer in Colwood, for example, we're spending $2,000 a month for that location. We have way less overhead. I mean, it's a fraction of the size. We have it's being run by 5 or 6 employees, and it's doing kind of about 40% of the sales of our full store. But because of our operating overhead being so low, it's a pretty profitable operation for us, and
Right.
it gets us to maintain our brand and has a presence in Colwood versus waiting for land that we can't afford to buy or a lease that we need. It costs us 600,000 to open up a Big Wheel Burger.
Right.
So you need to have a third of that in cash in order to borrow the other 2/3. And it's if we were to do a building, it would cost us a couple million in this market. So it's not a realistic option.
Right.
So as much as it's taken us time, but I think getting the foothold into Courtenay, getting some land, and maybe getting this thing called the lift. You build it and then you lease it, and then it's worth more after you've done that, right? So then you can take that cash flow and that lift and possibly do another one at some other point in the future. So once you start doing that, then you can kind of start building a little bit of momentum. So hopefully we can maybe get some dirt in Colwood and actually do something that we own there. But we're fully prepared to do a lease deal there as well. I mean,
Wow.
we know how to do those deals. It all depends on where you want to put your money, right?
Right.
Takes more cash to invest in doing land ownership than it does in doing a lease deal.
And right now is a great time to be getting cash. It's fairly cheap comparatively, and there's a lot of government help right now going through places like the BDC.
Yeah. And that's where without the BDC, I mean, and we talked about this in our second podcast with Catherine from the BDC, and I don't know where our business would be without the BDC. And I mean, the Business Development Bank is exactly what businesses like ours are. We're developing businesses, we're developing brands, and that's what they're there for. I still have good, day-to-day banking. We bank with the CIBC, and I love our bank manager. I love the CIBC in general, but they're also not saying, "Hey, I want to lend you $2 million to build a building in Courtenay."
Right.
So where the Business Development Bank, that's what they're about. So it's actually a lot easier for us to do it through that. And I don't know, maybe Van City would do it, or Credit Union would do it, or things like this, but knowing the relationship with the BDC, it's mutually beneficial. We just contracted them to do a consultancy for our organizational structure, to look at not just where we are today, but where we're going to be in 2 to 5 to 10 years,
Right.
so that we're ready. So they sell those consultancy services. So we're now a customer of that. So as much as they're coming to us with financing for the Courtenay project, we're also coming to them and showing that we want to do best practices. We want to make sure that how we're growing our business is done well, because we think our brand's important. I think the community loves the food we're doing, but we could shoot ourselves in the foot by making a mistake and not structuring our business or our management well enough that we could, the Courtenay thing may be a mistake. So let's figure out before we do that exactly what our organizational structure to maintain our culture and our food product and our quality and what our core values are stays the same. So they're going to assist us with that.
Right.
So that supports them.
Yeah, those are such big issues for all businesses. And I think that with the food industry, we tend to forget that systems and policies and procedures not so much procedures maybe, but just like having that culture and the driving force of your core values. I think we tend to forget that in the restaurant business because it's such a personality business
Totally.
more. And I don't know, we could talk about that all day long. Your location in Colwood, the one that seems to be very profitable with very few people and
Yeah.
stuff, that's got no tables or chairs, right?
No.
It's
No.
takeout only, or
Ta-
do you do delivery as well from there?
We do DoorDash.
DoorDash,
Yeah.
right on. Well,
Yeah.
how do you find working with a delivery company in terms of having one location with no tables and chairs and also doing delivery services with traditional restaurants like maybe Sambries? What are a couple of the financial differences and impacts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very important question. I've been resistant. Like, I mean, Skip the Dishes, for example, has been, calling us religiously since they came into business, and that's probably, 4 or 5 years now, I guess. And I've always resisted it. I mean, they started at 30%, and without getting into details of what we pay as a percentage, BC's capped the percentage for deliveries during COVID, which is 15%. And I think the 15% is for us, it's an economical commission to pay. When we kind of opened our mind, it wasn't until COVID that we actually were like, okay, well, we need to figure something out because in-room dining was restricted, and how are we going to develop our business? And I think the two brands, the Zambri's brands, which is Italian and Dine In, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's high end, but it's kind of, table service and medium to high end, I guess. We had a fairly brisk business pre-COVID, but it forced us to look at the delivery apps just so that we can, keep the lights on and make sure there's some business. And for Big Wheel, we went ahead and did our own delivery service. So, right. We put some of our own staff to work. We figured out, the insurance issues and who wanted to work. And
you did that after COVID hit, right?
Yeah, right when COVID hit.
So was it a response to COVID?
It was a response to COVID and a response to, just figuring out, if we're smart enough to do it. I mean, when the COVID, we knew there was going to be some government support. So there was an incentive to put people back to work. We knew that, our sales, we didn't know where our sales were going to end up, but we knew that there was going to be government support. If, say, our sales cut by half, we'd get some labor support. We're going to get some rent support and things like that. So it was kind of a good opportunity to sort of look to see if we could figure out the system, because it was going to be effectively subsidized. So when we went to the delivery system, bringing people back, I think we had like 110 employees at the time. We laid them all off. And then within a couple of weeks, we got our stuff organized. And, that was one of our launches, was to do delivery. So in that one store, we only maybe needed 8 employees back, but we brought back 14 and had 5 or 6 of them doing deliveries. So what I learned from that is that we couldn't do it cheaper than 30%. So, and we also couldn't do a good enough job, because we would pool orders. So an order would come in at 1:00, and we'd be like, oh, delivery, okay, 15 minutes. Okay, well, let's wait. Let's hold that delivery back until we can get another delivery. And then we thought a reasonable delivery time was an hour from the time of order. So we had a delivery service component in our delivery app already, which was an advantage because we already had the system.
It was the kind of app that you could come pick up or have it delivered?
Could pick up or deliver.
Okay.
So for us, we already had the infrastructure there to do that. And I think that was a bit of an advantage. And I thought, well, we're smart people. We could figure it out. So we set up we set up like an Excel spreadsheet, and we had mapping software, and we were really kind of thinking we were doing a great job. Once I looked at what our delivery times were, the effectiveness of how we were doing it, we were just doing a bad job. And I don't think the product didn't serve the product well. And it still was costing us about 30% of our bill, the average check that we were delivering.
Right.
So then I'm like, okay, well, now that forced us to say, why don't we try DoorDash or Skip the Dishes or one of these delivery companies? So we opted to do DoorDash. And Zambri's actually did it first. So we kind of had that experience there with them. So they kind of modeled it. And the rate we were paying at that point, it didn't matter if it was less than 30%. We were doing it cheaper than what we could do it for. And we were able to get it. I think it started at 20% or something. But we also bumped up our price for delivery to help offset some of those costs.
Right.
So that kind of helps as well. But they did a way better job. Like they literally had drivers there picking up the food when it was ready and direct delivery. So they wouldn't be pooling like 6 orders like we did, and one order is like 10 kilometers away, the next order is 5 kilometers away, and the last person gets food an hour and a half after they ordered it.
And you only have 5 drivers.
And we only have 5 drivers, so it was. And we were also doing charity orders at that time too. So we delivered food to, I think we had 70 families that were food insecure that we provided 2 meals a week to. So we had to tie that in as well. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we did the delivery service too, is because we wanted to do this community support. So we already knew we needed delivery drivers to do that. So that it all just kind of meshed, and it felt good. And we did it for probably 4 months. And then once we switched over to DoorDash, we were pretty happy with that decision.
Okay. So it seems like we're obviously, maybe not obviously, we are welcome to the podcast, everyone. We're going to be talking about delivery service today.
Exactly.
So there's obviously there's issues with delivery services, and we can go through all the issues that we want, but for someone who's done their own delivery service, it really interests me because that's one of the things I was thinking about. Should groups of businesses, of like-minded businesses or like product businesses, join together and have their own delivery system that they create, or are we going to get flooded with a whole bunch of individuals? Like if every Big Wheel Burger had their own delivery service, and 2% Jazz, and you name it, if we all had our own independent delivery services, one of the things that's jumped out at me is, where are we going to find the drivers? I mean, Uber Eats and DoorDash, they've got all the drivers in the world right now. And they own the vast majority of the delivery market. They've got the technology, they've got the logistics, they've got the drivers, and the drivers are really important. I forget what the numbers are. It was something outrageous, like 5 million drivers that
Uber Eats
has in North America alone. That's one company. So if we're all trying to find our own drivers, we're already at a disadvantage, and we don't have the logistics and the capital and the advertising. How are people going to know to call Big Wheel Burger's delivery service to get Big Wheel delivery?
Well,
I guess you just look up your website and your app is there, right?
Like we already have the infrastructure with that. Like we use a local company called Modern, and they do a pickup service, so you can order and pick it up. They had a delivery component that we used and was fairly effective. The problem with it is we don't have the mapping software, the time software, the two-way communication with the customer. Like you really are competing against those types of organizations, and they have vast abilities that we could never have. I know there's a local company here called 2D that does delivery, and it's just like ACO, which was another company that was doing deliveries a few years back. And then they moved to a model where they're doing a centralized kitchen and doing deliveries out of that.
They're so ahead of their time.
They were ahead of their time. And I'm not 100% sure those times will come. I think they're going to come for established businesses. Like, let's give you an example. So we have Big Wheel Burger and we have Zambri's. So we have brand recognition. We've been in business. Zambri's been in business for 21 years. Big Wheel is approaching our 10-year anniversary next year. So we could set up a ghost kitchen, is what they're called,
right,
and just have Uber and Skip and all these delivery apps coming through to that one kitchen,
making your burgers,
making burgers and our pastas and everything out of that one kitchen,
and a pad Thai, and open up a pretend Thai restaurant on Uber Eats at the same time.
You could, but the difference is you don't have the brand recognition, right? So I think because I think ACO Kitchen had burgers, pizza, like a foo type thing, and they were trying to run it as 4 different businesses, but there wasn't brand recognition, so they didn't have the steady trade of business already there. So I think that was a bit hard for them, but I could see an organization like ours eventually being able to do ghost kitchens. Like if we dropped in Vancouver, we could actually set up a centralized kitchen that may make some efficiencies and may make that work. But I think for the average company, that's just not practical. I don't even think for the Bread and Butter Collective, we're approaching 40 restaurants and coffee shops. Like we have a scale, but we don't have the technology. We're going to be competing over times for drivers and the efficiencies, the marketing promotion of it. And we're competing against Uber and Skip the Dishes. Uber Eats, Uber, I think Uber is public, but DoorDash just went public. Right. So they have, access to these capital markets for marketing and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not even convinced that's going to be a profitable long-term model.
They're not profitable now.
They're not profitable now.
They're losing millions of dollars a month.
Yeah.
And so you're due to all the advertising.
Yeah. And so when you look at those things, it's like I'm hopeful that they're going to survive. But you also, when you're looking to partner with different companies, you don't want to be building your entire business, and I think this goes to the scaling point. So, I think from a customer's perspective, there's a couple of different perspectives. There's one as the owner of the business. Like how does it affect us? How does our future profitability come into play? And then there's a consumer. It's like, okay, well, what do I need? So a consumer wants convenience. They want easy access. They want consistent. So these apps bring that, because right. I know for me, and I ordered Big Wheel through DoorDash yesterday to our office. So we were all like, do you want Big Wheel? And we own Big Wheel. But we said, yeah, let's do it. Do you want to go pick it up? I'm busy. You're busy. You're busy. Okay, let's order DoorDash. So forget that we own Big Wheel. Think of an office situation going, hey, how can A, we decide to support these restaurants, or B, I just want food and I want it now. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to go there and I know when is it coming? Oh, it's here. It's 5 minutes away. It's 10 minutes away, whatever. I think that convenience is always the customer's need is always going to be there. If you're a conscientious customer, you might be thinking, well, should I be ordering DoorDash or Skip from this restaurant or this restaurant? I think from our restaurant, like we already do a brisk business with our own takeout app. We do have a good walk-up business. We're all takeout right now, but we'll go back to in-room dining probably in the fall once, the vaccinations all happen. But I'm literally looking at our business going, well, does it make sense to be paying now the 15% capped rate? And I'm assuming with our volume, that rate will be kind of stay the same. It'll be hard for them to pull that rate up. So how does that look in our balance sheet and our profit and loss statement? Can we make money doing it? Well, all of our main business customers and pick up and dine in, that pays for that. We run a profitable business like that. So incrementally, we don't have the same overhead on the deliveries that get picked up by DoorDash. It's all happening remotely, so we don't need an extra customer service person. I mean, our sales in that end of our business, our takeout and our DoorDash, not our takeout because everything's takeout, but our DoorDash and pickup is 30 to 40% of our business now. So if we already didn't have our nut being covered by our regular customers, we couldn't afford 30%. Imagine building your whole business where you're giving 30% of your revenue somewhere.
No, thank you. I already pay taxes.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's certain restaurants that will have to make really tough decisions because, for that reason, because if you're looking at, if you say you open a restaurant and you haven't built the trade up yet, so it takes 3 years to become profitable, even break even in a restaurant. Even then, what the profit looks like is 5%.
Right.
So it's not like you can afford to make very many mistakes. So if you add 20%, say it's 15 to 20, 30%, whatever the range is, delivery service to your business, then you have to really build that into your pricing model for sure to offset that. But you haven't really covered all your bases yet. You're not covering your overhead. You're not covering your staff. You're not covering any of that because you haven't built that business up yet. So if you're a new restaurant and going to support a new restaurant, I would be picking up or dining in those restaurants. I would not be using, even if they offered Uber Eats and DoorDash, I would not be using that because you are actually digging them a bigger hole. So but if you're looking at, say you're looking at McDonald's, for example, like they have this big behemoth beast and they're probably paying the best rates on all that. So order up DoorDash as much as you want.
I'm sure.
You're not going to be affecting them at all.
DoorDash to a quarter or something to have those costs reduced.
Yeah.
And so now these companies have a stratified payment structure.
Yeah.
As far as I know, like big companies pay less, small independent companies pay more, and their justification for some of this is because there are some really good points, like you're saying about having a delivery service. One, it could maybe broaden who's ordering from you. Maybe there's people who have never heard from you, and they're flipping through their DoorDash thing, and they're like, "Oh, Big Wheel, I've never heard of that, and I'm going to order. I'm going to try it out." It gives your restaurant a bigger platform in the world, I guess, and that's one of the really big benefits of going with one of these delivery apps. And there are quite a few. Like they have the structure and they have the ability to get product from point A to point B with very few problems.
Yeah.
But when there's a problem, it's not anyone's fault except for the restaurant's fault,
Well, but I think that's a degree of sophistication, right? Like I think everybody that's ordering.
I'm talking about your average customer ordering, and it comes late, and the fries are soggy, and they shouldn't have ordered fries anyway because it doesn't travel well. But they order them anyway, and the driver was a jerk, and they have a really bad experience. And they go for the next time they order food from DoorDash or wherever, they're going to look right past you and go soggy fries and bad delivery and go somewhere else and not blame the delivery service, but blame the restaurant and then leave a bad review. And
I'm not convinced, though, Sam. I'm not convinced.
You're not convinced of that?
No, because I'll tell you why I'm not convinced. This is the same argument that people have is about scared of competition. So, like I'm not going to say which of my partners this is, but anytime a new restaurant opened near the other restaurant, whatever the brand, whatever it was, there's always like competition, blah, 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 blah. And my answer to all that was, if we just keep doing what we're doing it well, we're protected. Right? The only people that should be afraid of competition is people that aren't living up to what they say they're going to do, and they aren't producing a good product.
Okay, but what if you're not in control of?
But let me tell you. Let me explain that to you, because please. I think this is an important thing. Is you may not be in control of the delivery service, but the customer is ordering from you. Most of the customers are ordering from you because they've eaten at your place before. So people. Human nature is humans are creatures of habit.
That's true.
So I call. I don't want to offend anybody, but the majority of people I call the Walmart crowd. So they're wanting just, a good price, good value. They want to know they can go to one spot and get what they want.
I think they call that meh. It's meh culture.
Okay, meh culture, which is, but that, so that is the majority of people are creatures of habit. So I'm assuming that most of the people that are ordering from our store have been there before. So they know what it is. They also know that they're paying for the convenience if they're going to pay a little bit more. And they also understand that the product isn't going to be as good as if they ate it in store, because it's going to be not as warm, not as, maybe put together. Maybe that doesn't travel well and it's a little bit messy. But they're also going to understand that driver may run into problems over there. So I'm giving customers a lot more credit.
You are, and I'm sorry, customers. I'm not giving them as much credit as maybe they deserve. However, I come at this at a more kind of skeptical, I don't like delivery apps kind of mentality.
I've been like that. like part of the thing in business is that you have to not be completely rigid in your ideas. And I think in anything, but be more open to the possibilities. Because I was just like you were for 5 years when Skip the Dishes were power calling me. And I was like, I got them down to 22%. And they started at 30%. And I'm like, oh, and I still couldn't justify it at 22%. I'm like, how is this long-term sustainable? Right. But then the pandemic hits, BC caps the rates at 15. I had already, sort of negotiated that. So I was there anyways, but I'm now seeing exactly how it works, especially because I'd already done it. So I already knew what we couldn't do and how much we are doing it for. So they're doing it for this. They give us the option to pad the prices a little bit to offset some of those costs. And we're seeing the volume come through our stores, and our customers genuinely are happy with it. I order a lot through DoorDash myself, my product, because I like it, both Zambries and Big Wheel. And every time I've gotten it really quickly. I knew where it was. The food quality was there. But if there was anything that was kind of like off, I wasn't, because I'm the guy in charge. So I wouldn't be going to my staff and saying, this is cold. My first instinct isn't thinking that. I'm thinking, okay, the driver's had it in his car for 30 minutes or 35 minutes, and that just is what the product is. So you understand that the product you're getting may come cold. Mm-hmm. I ordered buffalo fries, and I'm like, they were a little soggy. That's the product.
Would you feel the same way if your food from Zambries was being delivered and mishandled and not taken the proper attention to the delivery?
If it came, like if the pizza was like smashed and the pasta was all grind, like if it was an obvious delivery thing, I think, again, giving the customer credit, I think people can tell who to blame here. Like if you're ordering, because I've ordered from Brown Social House before over the years, and I didn't get a product. I'm like, okay, well, that is probably, it could either be a driver error or a store error. That's fine. But if the actual product, and I open it up and it was supposed to have chicken, it doesn't have chicken, that's 100% Browns.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming a driver on that. So I think people are intelligent enough to make those, determinations. So I'm less worried about the quality, just like I'm less worried about competition, because as long as I know that we get the product to the DoorDash spot in the best quality position, we got it ready when they're ready to come, then I'm pretty confident that driver is going to get it there quicker than I could. So even if that means that there's going to be some delivery issues, because we've had to fire DoorDash drivers and say, you can't come back here. Guys coming in yelling at our staff or whatever, right? I mean, you're going to get, I mean, humans are humans, so you're going to have that component.
Yeah, I guess you are, and that's why there's two of us, one on each side of the plexiglass here, right? It's like, I look at the reputation problem is that the restaurants are getting the raw end of the stick when it comes to branding, and they also get blamed for the negative part of the customer experience too, because when something does go wrong, and I know you're giving the customers the benefit of the doubt, and they should
listeners remember that I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. And Sam is being a jerk.
I'm just being a hard-nosed jerk. All you restaurateur owners can thank me later. But in a case study in 2008, this is pre-pandemic, 82% of customers blamed the restaurant, not the driver, for or the ordering apps when there's a mistake. Now that I believe is a British study, not an American study or a Canadian study, but still 82% of people tend to blame the restaurant, and that goes back to what I was saying. It's not they'll still go back to the delivery app of choice, because that's the brand they're associating with food now, and they just scroll through until they see chicken and they hit chicken, and that's what they want.
But again, I go back to, and I'm not disputing the study, because I'm thinking that very well could be the case. But guess what? Every single, if it's the driver and delivery component of it, that's going to be equalized around the entire brand of products they have. So everything is going to be affected the exact same way. So you, as your own brand, you're in the midst of 50 other brands that are being affected equally, right? So it's not like
hopefully
it's not
hopefully well,
equal,
like
listen,
that, right?
you can. I mean, this just comes down to, evaluating probabilities and certain outcomes, right? So if you're evaluating the outcome of X and that outcome happens 3 times in a row to the same customer, okay, well then I can see where that customer is never going to order from there again, right? But if you, out of your 10 times you order, and say you're ordering from 3 different places, right? So it's 30, 33, 33, 33 as a mix.
Yep.
That 82%, so this 33 that you're ordering, 25% of it is going to be screwed up at one time or another, but it's going to be equally applied to the other 3 you're doing. So, in that argument, that even if there's a mistake 7 times out of 10, at least it's not going to be just specific to your store, right? So they're not saying, they're not going to Sam or 2% Jazz ordering coffee and then going to Habit and ordering a coffee, and they're like, always the 2% Jazz is screwed up. Because that probably is your fault.
It came cold and it was flat. And,
yeah, but the thing about it is, that'll come out the same probability come out on the other side too with Habit. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's just strictly a delivery problem. But there's going to be restaurants that perform badly, right? There's going to be restaurants that say the order's ready and it's not ready, and the drivers are sitting there waiting for the order. The order maybe was sitting on top of a thing and nobody saw it. So then now it is actually cold and it is actually the restaurant's fault. So there's going to be bad restaurants in there too. So, but if you're assuming an even playing field, assuming that the intentions are to produce good product, you have good product, because why are you in business producing bad product? Then I think all of those delivery issues will even themselves out. It really comes down to how it affects your bottom line as a business. And does your product travel well? Like burgers, frankly, don't travel that well, right? Pizza travels pretty well. Pasta travels pretty well.
Pizza's the long-term delivery.
Yeah,
right?
Salad doesn't travel that well, because especially if they're putting it in the same box with hot food, the lettuce is going to get wilted. So
how about fried chicken?
Fried chicken. I had some of the best. I had really good fried chicken at Wind Cries Mary.
Yeah.
We'll have to get them on part of the collective, but it was really, really good fried chicken.
Was it delivered?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
We were there.
Okay.
But it was delicious. I've never had delivered fried chicken.
It works.
Yes, I would think so.
For whatever reason,
well, anything deep fried, I think, generally works, except for French fries.
Right.
Right.
They just go soggy.
Yeah.
And like the chicken holds a crunch on the outside and the tenderness in the middle.
And even our burgers, like I like the burger cold, and you can just pop it in the microwave, and the bun and everything is just there. Right. And there's ways you can game it. We looked at models of deconstructing a burger. So the lettuce, all the cold items were in a Ziploc. So you build your own burger.
You know what that reminds me of?
What's that?
What was that McDonald's burger that they had, the deluxe or something? It came in 2 halves, the hot and the cold side.
Yeah.
Where's that burger these days?
I guess it didn't work.
Well,
so I guess maybe we can't do that. I don't know.
Or maybe you need the double clamshell that they had to keep the hot side hot and the cold side cold.
Yeah, I mean, in the spirit of everybody looking to do a good job, then you're going to be taking this customer feedback and you're going to making adjustments. Like if people stop ordering your product through DoorDash or whatever the delivery app is, then you're going to make some changes and you're going to be getting feedback, because trust me, those algorithms that they've got, they're going to spit back 2-star ratings, and they'll just cancel you. Right. So,
and not, to go back to our original argument point there, not all of those 2-star ratings are legitimate. I would reckon.
No. And if you're going to give a rating, don't just email the restaurant and tell them your issue. Don't put a 2-star rating, because you're not helping anybody. And if you're going to put a rating, don't put a 4-star, put a 5-star. Yeah, right. This is how these things work. Like if you want to give the props to the restaurant, and I've heard such great reviews, 4-star rating, it was the best ever. I'm like, dude, what did we have to do at 5? Are we gonna have to I don't know.
There are things kinky to be done. Yes, there are things to be done to get that 5-star.
Okay, send me your address. I'll go over it.
Speaking of which, to all our listeners, I'd love a 5-star rating from you.
Yes.
Not for the podcast.
For the podcast. Oh,
2% Jazz can have one too. But okay, so that's kind of one of the problems that I was thinking about. It was just like it's called the reputation problem, and I guess we've kind of covered that in spades here. I think the other big one is the huge cost of the transactions. I mean, I'm sure everyone's aware that these delivery services aren't free, and I'm sure everyone also is aware that the restaurants take a lot of that burden. I mean, at approximately 30%, I've seen anywhere from 10 to 40%.
Yeah.
The average, I think, is 30. And right now in BC, in certain towns, Seattle, I think, LA, New York, and maybe a couple other Canadian towns have really restricted that through COVID crunches. So right now we're capped off at 15%.
Yeah.
But that will end, or it may end. They're able to end that and increase it back to their normal patterns as soon as the province lifts the current state of emergency, which hopefully is any day now. But
I think it'll be
what's happens to our prices.
Yeah, well, and I guess, listen, I think now is the perfect time for people to be looking at this. I think customers need to be evaluating their purchase decisions on how best they can support the restaurants, because I think the majority of people, we're going to need them to support restaurants in order for them to survive. Like, let's just be real here. Even when COVID ends, I'm expecting it to be kind of a roaring 20s vibe, but I think the majority of Canadians are going to be bolting. And I think, maybe they'll be going to Mexico, maybe they'll be, going to the Bahamas, or maybe they'll even go to the States or wherever. But, where's the guarantee that we're going to get that same back? Like, there's a movement now through Destinations Canada, Destinations BC is promoting your initial travel in Canada to support Canadian businesses and tourism and things like that, which I think is important.
Yeah.
So I think all of the decisions need to be made accurately. And I think as a business, they've got to decide whether or not they can do this profitably. Whether it's the right move to do, DoorDash now, or skip or do it later at some other point, like us. Like it took us, it had been around by 4 or 5 years before we even decided to do it.
Right. Yeah. It took me a while. Like pre-COVID, I was just dabbling with Uber Eats, and I was really resistant. I was like, no, I hate this. And then I said, well, wait, I don't hate anything. I just really don't like it.
Yeah.
Let me correct myself for my children who may or may not be listening.
Exactly.
I still don't hate anything, kids. But now I've got 3 online, and it makes a difference. And I don't know where my business would be without the delivery systems through COVID. But I'm still resentful at the prices, even at 15%. I feel that, and the customers must also feel like that. I mean, because that's not the only cost. I mean, where does your customer money go to? There's service fees, there's a delivery fee, there's a small order fee if you don't want much, and you may not get that unless someone just wants some poutine for home, and all of a sudden the app says, well, there's a $4.95 small order fee. Yeah. Would you like for a burger with that?
Yeah.
So there's that. There's tax on top of the fees and the food. There's a tip to the driver, which is contentious. I mean, not to say they don't deserve tips, but there have been contentious issues around that. And then maybe an optional tip for the restaurant that made your food.
Well, and this is the kind of thing, like
that's a lot of fees.
There is a lot of fees, and it's death by 1,000 cuts at some point.
And that's for those are customer fees. Sorry to interrupt. Those are just customer fees that they're paying on top of their already inflated food prices.
Potentially.
Because well, I know I have, and
I have as well.
Delivery apps say you aren't supposed to. They really frown upon you increasing your delivery prices from your in-store prices. But at 30, 15, 20, whatever the percent is, I want to make that up. I don't want to pay for the whole thing. I'm not going to raise it a whole 30%, but I'll split the difference with them.
Well, 100%. And I think it's all about the idea that it's we're all in this together. I mean, to think there's an adversarial relationship between us and DoorDash, or us and our customers, and we all have different motivations. I like to view things as we all have the same motivation. Like, we want to produce good food for our customer. The customer wants to eat good food, and the delivery company wants to deliver good food on time. So there is an incentive for all of us to be doing the same thing and working in the same way. It gets cantankerous when you're actually looking at who's paying for these things and then who's getting them as well. I know with our staff, we look at, I mean, Big Wheel during COVID made a decision to put an autograt.
That's right.
And some have, some haven't. Our autograt, the bulk of it goes to our staff. We pay our staff well. Like, we believe in a living wage. We have a living wage program with Big Wheel Burger. Our starting wages is usually, anywhere between 50 cents, 75 cents, or $1 above minimum wage, just starting. And then we quickly get them up to $16, $17 and things like this. So this, having employees that can earn a living is important to us. But, we did the autograt. We got a bunch of pushback because they're like, this is basically takeout. I'm paying an auto gratuity. And we're like, well, we get to bring some consistent financial compensation to our staff. We give, 20% of that autograt to our foundation, which we give 100% to the community, and we match it. So we've been able to raise $125K during COVID to date for the community. $125,000.
That's awesome.
That is a decision that we've made to want to do that. I'm actually asking our customers to do the same thing. We've also asked our suppliers to do it. But when it comes down to the delivery app, so now 30 to 40% of our business is done through a delivery app. The staff doesn't get any of those gratuities, and there is no autograt. There's no community component to that. So we're going to be changing our model once COVID ends. Okay. We're going to let customers tip what they want to tip. We're going to charge a very small percentage, probably 1.5%, which will be a foundation charge, because it's really important for us to attract customers that are like-minded. Not everybody's going to want to do that. Not everybody's going to want to pay it, but we can't do that through the delivery service and app. So goes down to the point of our business. Just forget about the app first, or the delivery thing for a second. But when customers come to the window, they're getting a 12% autograt right on it.
Right.
And we're charging prices we need to charge so that we can make a profit. So we're not just, buying a job for ourselves. So all of that kind of goes into our decision making.
That must have been a really hard decision to make. Was it hard, or was it just?
It was one of those things
contentious.
It was contentious, and our partnership group, like when I proposed it, because this was something that I had in mind when I started our foundation 2 years ago, or 3 years ago now, where I was like, okay, we need to give back to the community. It's important. I'm trying to build, or we do have a triple bottom line company. So I'm trying to do what's right for the community, what's right for the environment, what's right for our staff, and still leaving a little bit left over so we can grow our brand and our business and make a little bit of money. So all of that, and when it came down to the decision for it, it's really forcing those values in a structural way. But I just thought, I think our customers get us as an organization. So I thought it was a lot easier sell for us to do that, because we've sort of built the groundwork for that. But we got a bunch of pushback, and it's died down a lot. But what spoke to me is that the customer still came and supported us. So I think, you build what you want to build, and you have the values you want to have, and
you'll attract like-minded value customers.
Yes.
Right?
And so when people know they're coming there, they're, we're working on different things. So when we remove the autograt, the only contentious part for me is forcing people to tip. That was always something I kind of grappled with. But when I look at what it's been done for the community and what it does to wage certainty for our staff, it makes me feel content. I think any decision you make, there's always going to be a conflict, and there's always going to be something that you're not going to think is perfect.
Right.
But I think the bigger good is there. And now we've kind of trained, and we've built this model that we can then make some tweaks. So we're going to lower the overall cost, because, the charity component will be 1.5% instead of being 20% of 12%. So, we're still going to be able to raise good money for the community, which is important for us, which we're going to be matching. Our customers, our staff will be supported, because we're also doing, our living wage program. So, and with the Bread and Butter Collective, that's a big part of what we're going to be doing as a group of restaurants, making sure that you can actually earn a living.
Yeah, that's one of the things that brought us all together.
Yeah, in the industry, and which supports the community, because now these people are our customers. A big chunk of the population works in service industry and hospitality.
Yep.
So do you not want them to be able to afford a house? You don't want them to be able to support other restaurants and dine and, support their children? I don't think anybody can argue that.
Well, I just don't want them to buy a house right next to me.
And why is that, Sam?
Because I'm a private individual.
Oh, yeah. It's okay.
No,
well, you could
no.
live in the hills.
Yeah, I can't live further into Metchosin, I'm afraid.
But I think those types of decisions for businesses, when it comes to deciding how are you going to run your business, how are you going to support your staff, and then how you can justify paying 30% to deliver and still have a viable business.
Right. And sorry, did you say that your 12% autograt is on the delivery service as well?
No,
it's not. So that's a real issue, because hearing all the benefits of that 12% and where it goes and how it's used it's amazing. It's a great idea, and kudos for having the cojones to go ahead and do it. Shit, you've bucked the industry on that one.
Oh,
sir.
I thought I was gonna die it's literally none of us talked to each other for 4 days.
No, I bet. But you can't do that with the delivery apps, and as the delivery apps got stronger and stronger part of your business, that charitable part must feel like it's being squelched a bit. I mean, I'm really trying to throw the delivery guys under the bus here.
No, and listen,
is that true, or am I making it up?
No, it's true, because Cook Street doesn't do any delivery service because they're too busy we can't add any more volume to that store, for example.
It all pickup?
It's all pickup right now.
That's great.
Yeah,
and you've got a real tight-knit community down there. Lots of population density.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't need the delivery. The pickup's a really great option.
Yeah, we've got that all sussed. So everything that gets picked up there is all done through our auto gratuity. Mm-hmm. But then you go to Gateway, and literally like 35% of their sales now are through the app. But there's been a lift. Like it's not like they've taken money away. Like our overall sales per store has grown as a result of it. So we've actually increased our business. So, and that's where, when you get to the percentage and the cost, you really need to look at whether this is just cannibalizing your existing business, and now you're paying a 20% or 30% or 15% charge to do that, or you're actually getting the uplift. So, if you were break even and all your costs are covered at $100,000 a month, say, for example, just for easy numbers, now you've already covered your rent, your overhead, your staffing, all that. So now you really cost on these delivery is the actual food cost, right? So if your food costs are at 30% and you've got your little containers, and it's more expensive to do takeout, but now you're at 30%. So if for every dollar you make over 100,000, you're getting to keep 70% of it, because your really only cost is at 30%.
Right.
The staffing's covered, the overhead's covered, the rent's covered. So now you're going to get 15% of that 70%. So there's an argument that you're actually making, if it's the case that you're broken even, you're actually making a higher profit per dollar on that order than you were on the first 100,000.
Right. And I guess that's kind of where,
and that's like, I'm talking like a DoorDash salesman.
Right.
Because that's their argument.
And it's a perfect argument in perfect times.
In perfect times. And if you've got your shit done, like if you're covered and your bases are covered, no problem. But if you just open the restaurant and you're losing $5,000 to $10,000 a month as you're building your business, and that's what you prepare in your business plan, that you're going to, the first 2 years we opened Big Wheel, we lost almost 200,000.
And then you suck another 30% on food costs.
Yeah, you're never getting ahead. Yeah. Right? So you can't build your business on it, but it is a great complement to an existing business. So as a consumer, ask yourself, how long has this business been around? Do you think they have a good base support? And then make your delivery decisions or pickup decisions based on that.
Right. What I tell people, because I get asked this, like, what's the best way I can deal with the delivery system so I'm fair to the restaurants? And I say, go to your DoorDash or whatever app you got, flip through, find out what you want to eat. And I think that the delivery apps are making it so simple for consumers to get food in 3 swipes. Yeah. Make the 4th swipe be Google and look up that restaurant that you just saw on DoorDash.
100%.
And then call them.
Well, call
them and ask them maybe even, what do you prefer? Because everyone's going to be in a different position.
Yeah, I think I can guarantee you that everybody, including us, would prefer that people go and pick it up. But I definitely think there's a unique opportunity for the restaurants that benefit more by their purchasing power, perhaps, but also the fact that they've covered all their nut with their regular business.
Right.
That this truly is positive to them. But I think everybody would say pick it up. The one thing you do not do is you do not order pickup from your delivery app.
No.
That is the one thing that every consumer should just never do.
That is good
because
information.
You call the restaurant, or in most cases, restaurants these days have an app, or some do. I don't know if everybody, but a bunch of them do. But if they don't, just call them and place the order and pick it up, right? Don't go through DoorDash pickup. It's just it's effectively really it's the worst thing you could ever do. So that's one thing that I would say you can never do. And then the other thing is where you can pick up. But listen, I'm sitting in my office and I want a freaking big wheel, or I want.
And you've got lots of work to do.
And I've got work to do. Exactly. So I'm going to use those apps. But
you never know if they might be right around the corner. Maybe it's a place you haven't been to before. Maybe you do have 10 minutes to take out to go walk down the street and pick up.
Well, I would be more incentivized to do that if I didn't know how long that restaurant was there. I wanted to try them, but I wasn't sure what their finances were like. Yeah. I would then go and pick that up. And then I'd have a conversation with them. Like, how are you guys doing? Like, how do you feel about, the apps and whatever? And if they say, yeah, you know what, we're good. Somebody asked me, I'm like, yeah, order away through the DoorDash apps from us.
Right.
If it's what you want, it's going to be convenient. If it's mean you're going to choose our restaurant, then for sure. Right. But not all restaurant businesses are equal.
No, they're really not. Everyone's in their own special circumstances.
Hey, it's producer Kyle here. I have a quick question. Do you take questions on this program?
We do. For you, and hopefully maybe in the future we'll do that. What's your question, Kyle?
Why should it be on the consumer to look up and Google these businesses, whether they've been around for a long time or things like that? Why can't I just order from these places knowing that they've taken it upon themselves to be on these apps? Why are they there if it's not a sustainable option for them?
Wow. Ooh, that's digging in deep, sir. That's a deep cut.
Let me give it a stab at answering that.
Calen.
I think, I guess we answered it from where we think consumers should go. Answering it from what we think businesses should do, I think I touched on it. Like, businesses should not be on the apps if they can't sustain it financially. They should only go to the apps once they know they've already covered their overhead. So this is purely bonus income for them, where they don't need to hire another cook. They're not relying on this business to be exclusively theirs. So unfortunately, not everybody, business people are optimistic in nature, generally speaking. So they're thinking that this will help build their business, but they really need to get a handle on what their costs and expenses are. And I agree with you, Kyle. Like, why are we asking customers to do that line of thinking? Like, if you're on the app, you're going to assume it's viable. And I think that's a very good point. So hopefully our listeners understand that, hopefully the businesses are making good business decisions for themselves. And again, I guess it goes to support the collective, because these are the types of advice and decisions we're helping other business people make. What point is it makes sense to be on the delivery apps, and when doesn't it make sense for their business? Because from the consumer's point, if you're there, like, all fair game.
Yeah.
So that's actually a very, very, very good point and good question. It needs to be a good clarification, because in no way means or anything am I suggesting the customers make those decisions. But I mean, I'd like them to think about it.
I would love them to think about it too. And it really is not the responsibility of the customer to do that kind of homework. However, and this is my however, is if we're, as a collective and independent restaurants, if we're working super hard and doing all this extra work to provide for the community and to provide the best service we can for our customers, it's not, I would want my customer to think about my business the way I'm thinking about how my business impacts my customer. And I also know, coming from the restaurant side of things, that really very few businesses in the food hospitality industry know where they stand in terms of business. I think that we all get caught thinking that we're doing fine. We don't look at our books the way we should. We don't understand the numbers that are in the books if we are looking at them. And this isn't everyone, because I know you know that, Calen. I'm starting to get to know that. But there's so
Well,
many
it's one of the
people.
reasons we've got the collective.
Well, this is why we have the collective. So from the collective perspective, I mean, it's an act of desperation to go out and to sign up for someone who's going to take 30% of you. So maybe you can keep your cook employed through COVID. So maybe you can keep one more staff member employed. I mean, it has other things. When I went and I got two other delivery apps as soon as COVID hit, I didn't do them because I needed that income. I did it so I could provide work for at least two more people.
Yeah.
And for me, that's me and how I did it. So as a customer, you're right. It's not your responsibility, but it just feels like the right thing to do if you care about where your food's coming from and the people who are making your food, I want you to think about it.
Well, I want you to do that. That's part of the thing too, is like as providers of this food, and I don't think that I think the restaurant industry in particular is very unique. Like nobody got into the restaurant or coffee shop or this type of business because they wanted to get rich. They actually wanted to do something they're passionate about. They put their love and care into what they're doing.
I wanted to serve people,
yes.
And now I'm serving a delivery guy.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I guess that's where we kind of feel like we're putting our heart and soul into everything, and hopefully customers are thinking about us, right? And call it naive, but it's and I think customers have in this COVID, if the outpouring of support, the generous nature of the customers doing what they've done to keep us alive, I think tells me that they do care. But I guess clearing the distinction between making it their responsibility versus the business owner's responsibility. It's definitely the business owner's responsibility, but
it is their responsibility.
We're passionate people, and shit, I'm an artist, and you look at chefs and these people, they're just pouring their passion into their food, and at the end of the day, they're not thinking about the numbers.
Right.
So
it's that taking it from to get your food to your door in 3 swipes or that 4th swipe.
Yeah.
It's that 4th swipe that makes us know that you care.
Well, I think it's the first swipe is checking the restaurant first to see what they do, and then going if they do DoorDash and they have that option, then going through the DoorDash thing, right?
Yeah.
So instead of being the 4th, because I think by the 3rd you're already locked in. You're like, fuck, my order's there. I can press send and get it, or I can go to the 4th and waste my time. No,
right.
So,
yeah, it does. I hope that answers your question, caller.
Thank you very much, guys.
I've got 3 apps right now. You say you've only got 1.
I can't even this where we're in the midst of trying to integrate all this stuff. Because how we deliver better service and how we get better value for our customers is just get smarter. So we have a management software app that uploads our POS that records all the orders and all that kind of stuff so that we can analyze the information, what's selling, what's not selling, what our food costs are, and all that kind of stuff. It also ties into our labor, time and attendance, and then our delivery, our pickup app, which is modern, which is different than DoorDash. Then we got our DoorDash. If I was to add Skip the Dishes or 2D or I really want to support 2D because they're local, and why wouldn't I support local?
Right.
But I just can't stack all these apps on top of each other, especially if they don't integrate with my management software, because then the data is all messed up. And
I've got the same thing trying to port them all through my POS right now, and that's a technical challenge.
What POS do you use?
I use POS the Lightspeed.
Oh, okay.
I just switched from POS Lavu. I've been with Lavu for 10 years.
But do they integrate?
They do, but they do it through another third-party app.
Oh, okay.
And it's just layer upon layer of technological mayhem.
Well, and if one goes down, then it affects the other, and then the data.
Yeah.
I
think I'm going to unintegrate them.
Yeah.
As a tip to everyone out there who wants to integrate and thinks it's the smartest thing to do, try it.
Yeah.
But be prepared to go back to having 3 tablets on your counter because it's actually more straightforward in my mind.
Well, what I'm hoping we can do is we can get an integration of the one systems we have. And then if we think there's a benefit to getting another, then we can just do that independently. So we've got the bulk of it integrated, and then anything else. Because we're also looking at doing these computer screens for chefs. So
Right.
Instead of having the
I'm going to be
and,
talking to Jeff about that
exactly.
this week.
Yeah, and that's another great thing about the collective is that we get to learn about all this stuff together.
I've got a drive-through screen that really works. That could probably work for what you're looking for.
Yeah. So I mean,
bread and butter. Okay, so on top of all those fees, then I just lost my train of thought.
Dude, it was probably a lie.
It was a lie, I'm sure. But on top of all the fees that we're already paying, there's integration fees that are hidden between all those technologies, and there's the setup fees as well that you have to think about.
Oh, you're depressing me, man.
And then how about bookkeepers? How does your bookkeeper dealing with all the delivery
suicide
fees?
watch, bro?
Right?
Seriously.
And how much is it costing you in all the hours it takes for your bookkeeper to sift through all the different fees and taxes, because they charge the tax on the fees and then they charge the tax on the food, and they only will bill you out once a week because they figure you want constant cash flow, where I want it to end at the end of the month so it balances my bank, so my bookkeeper doesn't lose their hair and charge me a fortune.
I want it once a week. I would like them to dump it every day. I would
love it every day, but I want more transparency. I want to be able to see where those fees are.
The problem with it is that not all of them have the sophistication to do it. Like modern, while the service is decent, their back end is their service is, I guess, actually okay. But their back end is the reporting is not adequate. They put jumble numbers together, and my bookkeeper is literally going, "What the fuck are you guys why do they do it like this? It's stupid." And then you've got DoorDash, who's pretty sophisticated, but there's other things that they don't do. Everybody does something a little bit different.
And for a bookkeeper, that is crazy making, I tell you. And I feel bad every time I add something to the workload. I know that my accounting bill is going to go up $150 a month.
My bookkeeper is my mom and my GM's wife. So they're in a partnership, and they do the books for all of our companies. So he hears it from his wife, and I hear it from my mother. So there's a direct connection to my childhood. I'm waiting for the wooden spoon to break out and get spanked.
And of
Mom!
course, this really solidifies the rumors that the restaurant industry in Victoria is completely integrated.
Oh my God,
incestuous.
It is, but I mean, it's such a fun. It's fun, but I got to tell you, my mom swears like a trucker. So I say, "Mom, we're doing a building in Courtenay." She's like, "Fuck."
Oh, and she's a mother trucker.
Yeah, she's a mother trucker. And then I'm like, let's add DoorDash, or we're thinking about doing this. And every time there's a big F word that comes in the back of it.
Right.
But it's my mom.
So she just has to put up with it.
Kind of. Or I'm like, okay, Mom, I won't do it. I'm sorry. She presents her argument, and then I adjust my.
That's great. I wanted to throw something out there, and I'd love to, if anyone's listening, for our one listener in Idaho, I would love to put this question out there. In the case that we do get locked down again, and there's another issue in the world where we can't leave our homes and things get tricky again, why wouldn't we have Canada Post do our delivery systems? And why wouldn't we start to do that now? They have the technology, they have the manpower, they have the logistical abilities. They're all over Canada anyway.
But I think it depends on what you're selling. We started doing canned sauces and things like that. And I would agree, if you're going to sell wholesale or even direct to consumer with pasta or any goods that you've got, or even merch or whatever. But the advantage that these guys have is it's just like Uber. They have people on the ground in the neighborhoods that are just
that's
right
what
away.
I'm saying. Canada Post has people in every neighborhood every day, rain, snow, sleet.
They do, but they
fire,
got
storm,
them
whatever.
from the delivery people. Most of the Canada Post people are done by noon. They've delivered their stuff in the morning, and then they're off doing their second job.
Which could be delivering.
I guess.
Which could be delivering food.
But in a Canada Post vehicle?
Yeah, in a Canada Post vehicle with one side hot, one side cold, one side dry. And
I don't think Canada Post is renowned for their ingenuity and entrepreneurship. Like, I just don't.
Well, this is why they need us to be spurring them on and giving them these ideas.
Listen, I don't think it's a bad idea, but they can, when maybe they're getting better at competing with FedEx and UPS and these types of things.
Yeah, maybe they don't need the money, but it's still a crown corporation, and it's still part of our taxpayer money. And if we want to control our food supply, I don't know.
Well,
I think it's something to think about.
Let's start writing letters to our people, and maybe we can get that to happen. But let's face it. I mean, Amazon's going to end up buying every restaurant, every delivery system, and we're all just going to be robots working for Jeff Bezos. That's the reality of where we're going.
Oh, man. What was that movie where everyone was like floating around on beds drinking sodas all day? It's a cartoon.
Oh, dude.
Oh, man. I forget that one. Wally.
Oh, Wally. I didn't.
Yeah.
Oh
man, that is our future. We just
well, hopefully it isn't our future. But I guess we should wrap that up at this point. Hopefully our listeners got some insight into delivery apps and that type of thing.
I hope so. This could have easily been a 3-part rant.
Well, I guess we did rant, and at the beginning of it, I was like, "Wow, are we gonna?" You did a bunch of research for us, which helped kind of frame the conversation, but. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty endless. And I guess the other thing is we do have a website to announce. We're breadandbuttercollective.com. It's not exactly consumer faced now, but it'll tell you exactly what we're trying to do. It'll give a breakdown of all of our members, what our philosophies are, and that type of thing. So we also can be contacted at info@breadandbutter.com. And our social medias are up and running now.
Have we got all the meads right now?
We do. We have Facebook.
This is exciting.
And we have Instagram and we have Twitter.
Do we have anything on them yet? Like, do we have any Instagram stuff? Because I should go take some pictures.
Yeah, well, get to work.
Oh, you know what?
I liked our Facebook. Bread and Butter Collective Hospitality Service is our Facebook. And we've got Instagram.
Wow, there are so many ways to yell at us now.
I know. Bread and Butter Collective. Bread Butter Collective on Instagram. Okay. We have 21 followers.
21. Oh,
yeah, man. So I think that's pretty good. I'm going to follow that myself. Interact with us there. If you have suggestions of podcasts that we can do or something that's been, in your craw about hospitality businesses, not just here, but abroad, let us know.
Yeah, and if you have any questions you want us to dig into, not even just topics for whole shows, but just something we can just do a little bite-sized question and answer, I'd love to be able to help people navigate through the Victoria restaurant scene.
Oh, for sure. And even if there's somebody that you want answers from, we can bring them on as a guest, then...
Absolutely.
If we can bring the mayor on, if you want to talk about politics, we don't want to talk about that. But
I don't know. We're talking about delivery apps. We may as well be talking about politics.
Yeah, get into it.
Yeah.
So we'd like to thank our members.
Yeah, who are we?
We are 2% Jazz Coffee, Bodega Tapa Wine Bar, Big Will Burger, Nourish, Charlotte, The Quail, Habit Coffee, Foo, Culinary Classroom, that's Camosun College Culinary School, Cafe Fantastico, Harold Street Brewworks, Hey Happy,
Hoyne Brewery, La Pasta, House of Boating.
Botang.
Did I say boating? I just want to be on the water so bad. I'm sorry, Castro. Part and Parcel and Poco and Prima Strada Pizzeria and Roast and Table 9, the Sherwood, the Drake. I want to say the Tapa Bar, but Tapa Bar, Taco Stand, El Pastor, Took, and Zambries. Welcome, Took.
And more coming down the pipe. And it's an exciting collaboration. We're super proud of what we've done so far and the support we're bringing during COVID. And let's hope COVID just fucks off here soon. Excuse my language.
I'm going to get a t-shirt saying fuck off COVID.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of done with it. I'm pretty encouraged by the vaccinations. The rollout time, according to Horgan, should have everybody who wants a vaccination available to get one by June.
Right. For tourist reasons, I hope that the Americans still keep up on their pathway of success here and can open our borders a little quicker.
And I think, Joe Biden and that change there has definitely moved that along.
Nice to have some adults in the room.
Well, some adults, and hopefully, I mean, not getting into politics, but I'm sure glad the vaccination processes are provincial, and we don't have to listen to the jibber jabber from our federal politicians. Sounds like Joe Biden bailed us out with some AstraZeneca vaccinations, so that's why we were able to heighten our thing. So somebody has taken control of our destiny, and
thanks,
Joe
Biden.
Biden.
Joe Biden. What's his middle name? So funny.
Joseph R. Biden?
Yeah. Anyway, that's for our political commentary later. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in today. This has been a great podcast. Lovely chatting with you today about things that we love and hate, Calen. And,
I'm on the love side. You're on the hate side.
I'm on the I really don't like it a lot side.
Okay, perfect. All right, thanks, listeners. We'll talk to you soon.
Give us 5 stars.
Give us 5 stars, and we'll see you next week. And if you need to reach out, info@breadandbuttercollective.com.
Be nice.